Hey everyone. All right. So I've always wanted to do YouTube just cuz I'm like so bored at home and I have so much time. And I'm so tired of kind of typing everything out or like writing everything out. So I kind of wanted to try a new medium of trying to like express my thoughts or whatever. So I thought YouTube might be kind of cool. I just took a shower, so I tried to clean up a little bit. I'll try to look a little bit better, but I just kind of wanted to do like a practice video at first just to see how it looks like on YouTube itself, like in the browser or whatever, and just kind of do just like a whatever practice video. And what I like to do is I like to edit. I like to get it done and then go back and then watch it and then rewrite or like redo stuff and then like just like fix it up until I'm like cool with it. So I was trying to think up. I really want to do YouTube just for fun, and like I was trying to think up topics about what to do a video on. And the one thing that I kind of wanted to do at first was why I left America. So in case you don't know me, this is my first video on like a new channel because I forgot all my passwords. But so I used to live in the US and I was born in the Philippines, but I used to live in the US for like 29 years, and I lived in California, San Francisco. And then I just moved here back home to the PI like 5 years ago. So I thought this might be like an interesting topic to get to know me a little bit. So the first video I want to do is why I left America. All right. So pretty much when I was thinking about this topic, it's very personal cuz there are like two events specifically in particular that I think really contributed to my decision of leaving the US. And like I always say coming back home, but I guess it's more appropriate to say like moving here to the Philippines just cuz like I was so young when I left, and I don't really remember too much, but I don't know. Either way, like yeah. So there's two events, but this first one is like so poignant because I thought it was so strange. Like, so I said I went to school in SF. So it was like elementary school and then middle school. And then for some reason, during the year 2000, my parents decided they wanted to buy a house in Las Vegas in Henderson because it was like really cheap there, the houses, because they were like being newly built and like the prices were just really affordable or something. So they decided they wanted to move there. And of course, you know, being like a kid, I tagged along, and like of course I went to school there in high school freshman year. So like the big like freshman year of high school, you know, everyone looks forward to. So anyway, I won't get into little details because uh I want to keep the video short, maybe like 20 minutes. But it says 40 minutes on the maximum video, so but I want to keep it around like 15-20 minutes. All right. So yeah, I tested into a private school and I got in. It was between me and this other kid, and then like I was the one they chose. So or I like scored really well on the test, so I got into a school. It was called Bishop Gorman High School, and it was in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I know this might seem a little weird to some people who are watching, but just remember, like, I'm Filipino and I grew up in San Francisco, which is mostly Asian. So I had a lot of Asian friends, and it was like a big Asian community. So I was so used to being Asian and just like having like Asian inside jokes, and like being Asian is like the norm for me and for us. So that was kind of like me going into this whole thing. All right. So I'll just say it right now. I'm not trying to be like, I don't even want to say it. I don't want to be like racy, you know, but like this is the only thing I can come up with. I trust you guys. If there was another reason then that I could come up with, but I just couldn't, and this is the only thing that could like make sense to me. Okay. So honestly, the first day of school, it's like a private Catholic school, so we had uniforms and stuff. I'll just throw that out there. But honestly, the first thing I noticed was there were so many white kids at that school, and like the whole faculty was like all white. You know, like I know some people is like so, or like what the fuck, but like to be honest, like the only white people I'm used to besides TV and movies is like all my teachers growing up, you know? And I was so like surprised. I was surprised that there were so many white people at the school, and my first reaction was like, oh, this is kind of cool, because like it kind of feels like I'm in a movie or something, because I see like, honestly, like I see white people on like TV and like movies and stuff, so I kind of felt like it was a movie almost. Like everyone looked real, I'll just say it, like everyone looked really good looking, and like everyone looked like an artist or like a actor or something, you know? So that was my first initial impression. Okay, and then the second thing I wrote down was I thought of my race in a positive and negative for the first time. And it was because like it really made me kind of look at myself or think of myself as like Asian in like an all white school, you know? So for the first time, I was like, whoa, like I'm Asian, like compared to everyone else, you know? So that was like the first time I ever really thought about it, because like before, me and my Asian friends, like being Asian is normal to us, you know? So I started thinking what other people saw when they look at me, so I thought that might be it, you know? So that's what I was kind of thinking about. And then the next thing I wrote was that the white kids were not very friendly. And it's because like the first day of school, I remember walking in and then going to my locker, and then there was like a group of like just kids hanging out, and I walked up to them and I approached them and I introduced myself and everything, and we just kind of like said a few things to each other. And then the next day, kind of like school started, you know, like the next day. The first day is kind of like just hang out, get to know each other. And then the second day, school started, and then kind of like everyone kind of like dispersed and like started doing their own thing. And then I was kind of like just there, like, oh man, like I didn't really make any friends the first day, you know, as well as I thought. And like I was just kind of like there, just like doing the school thing. So that was fine with me. But like, I just thought, I know everyone's going to be like, why don't you just talk to people? But like, you know, I wasn't really shy, but I just thought someone would just like start talking to me or something. But no one really ever did. Which is so hilarious. But yeah, I just kind of got the impression that they weren't too friendly. And the next thing I wrote was I felt alone at school, because like eventually it kept on going on that like, you know, I would just go through school and like no one really talked to me. So I felt really alone at that school. Like this memory or this experience has been like it was a bad experience. It was like a bad memory, and like I never really told my friends about it or anyone really, like what happened at that school, even though they would ask sometimes. But it was a very kind of like bad, kind of traumatizing experience for me because like I felt really alone at that school, and like I didn't know what to do because I was like I was always pretty young in each grade because I started school when I was 4. So I was maybe like 12 or like 13 going into high school. So I was really kind of just, I don't know what to do about this. And then like, obviously, of course, I thought about it, like the whole socializing thing, but I just kind of decided to just focus on school and just kind of just do that just because like I wasn't really enjoying myself there. And this is probably the reason or the one thing about the whole thing that kind of bothered me the most, or like was the worst part, was that I ate by myself at lunch every day for half the school year. So you walk into the lunchroom. It's like a huge auditorium, and they have those like school lunch tables, and each grade has their own section. And then so I went to the freshman section, and then there was like one table that was like kind of pseudo empty. So I just kind of sat down, and that became my spot for like the entire time. And like I just sat down there and I ate my lunch, and I kind of just kept my head down. I remember that was the first time I ever put my head down, like, and kind of like, you know, look down at something, because like I was so used to talking to people all the time. That was the first time I remember that was the first time. I've only looked down at the ground maybe 3 times in my whole life, just because like I remember I was eating a sandwich, and then I finally looked down at the sandwich, and I thought in my head, sandwich. And I remember that moment because it was the first time I ever put my head down and just kind of ate by myself at school, you know. So that was really just telling or whatever. And then, so after lunch, I have an algebra class, and every time I went to that room and I sat down, I thought the exact same words every day, and it was in quote, "I want to go home." And then like I always analyzed what I meant by saying that to myself. Like at first I thought like I just want to go home right now. Like I just want to be at home, like at our house in Las Vegas or in Henderson, and just play video games or whatever. But like I kind of kept on thinking about it, and like just analyzing it, and I'm pretty sure I meant I just want to go back home to the Philippines, cause like it kind of made me, hold on, my dog wants to go outside. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. So where was I? So oh yeah, the I want to go home thing. So that was it was just the first time I ever kind of realized that what I saw on TV and what I saw in movies was pretty much just how the rest of America's makeup was like. I never really wondered about race when I was growing up, but like moving to Las Vegas and like being in like a homogeneous like white kind of community or state, and like an all white school, it kind of made me realize that you know, TV wasn't lying to me, and that's how America's like, you know, in certain places, in a lot of places. And normally or like usually I wouldn't have a problem with that, but the experience itself and how those white kids who will eventually turn into white adults treated me or treat me like, I know people's like, but they didn't do anything or they just ignored you. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can't really read people's minds, but you can just kind of tell that's what they were doing. You know, it doesn't take a genius to know when like a whole group of people is like ignoring you or like the whole school, you know. And like, okay, the next thing is I didn't really learn anything from that whole school year. I thought the curriculum was so easy and I got straight A's that whole school year. It was so easy. For like a private Catholic school that you have to pay tuition for, it was so easy. And I wasn't really challenged or I didn't think it was hard. Um, and looking back at the whole experience, like it just kind of makes me think about racism. And like now I see a lot of stuff on like YouTube or just online in general where minorities or like POC are like, oh, don't let people keep you from like telling your truth, or like people who gaslight and say that you experienced something that you didn't experience. So I just kind of wanted to tell my truth and like um, share this experience I had when I was young and see if like other people share the same experiences I did. And then like for a Catholic school, we never went to church, which I thought was very weird. No one ever talked to me about religion or Jesus, which was also very weird. None of the kids did, and none of the adults at the school ever did. This is a big one, but I think it contributed to my depression as I got older, cause like I'm trying to like paint this picture in a box. Like it's just very lonely and just like you just feel alone and like you kind of feel like you have no friends and like um, you know, I know a lot of Asians is like, oh, just focus on school and just do the work, da da da. But like, it was so easy that I had so much time to think and like look around and stuff. So I couldn't ignore them like ignoring me, if that makes sense. Like I always noticed it happening. I wrote down the experience was traumatizing. I never went to the bathroom at that school. I don't know why. It was going to the bathroom at school is like a thing I do. I just don't ever piss or like do anything at school for like 8 hours. Um, and then I just wrote it was too white and unfriendly, and I tried to forget about it, and I had a horrible time. I never told my parents how I felt. Question, and I wrote it was a bad experience in Las Vegas, and then one thing I noticed at the very end of the school year was I noticed all the like Mexican or like Latino Hispanic kids would all be in the library just like away from everybody. And I noticed that throughout the school year, but there was like a whole bunch of them in the library at the end of the school year, and I was like, why are you all in here? So it just kind of made me think about how the like racial division isn't just something I noticed, but they're experiencing it too. So that was kind of like an example of how the white kids always stuck over here and like everyone else is over here, you know. And then it just kind of makes me think about race, racial, racy, everything. And then I had an algebra teacher that picked on me every day, which I thought was very weird. But every time he asked me to answer a question, I never got it wrong. So I just thought that was just kind of like LOL. I thought it was a weird experience and I lost weight. Um, I wrote my whole life, this is a big point. Like, I think about it sometimes and I just kind of wonder why did this happen to me and like, how come I find it so strange? that white people in America are like that. I just thought it was very, very strange. So pretty much this is the reason why I started thinking about coming home to the Philippines. Just because I started thinking ahead. So like in high school, I'm thinking I'm going to finish high school, go to college, and find a job. And then like, I can always stay in San Francisco, but I thought, these white kids are going to eventually become like my employer or something. So I just kind of thought, I don't really see a future for myself here in the US, and I don't really see myself like kind of succeeding in the US just because I just don't really like the people, and I don't feel like I have to constantly change who I am or like change how I speak just for you or like just for them, just because they're white and they're normal and they're like the prime basic example for how you should act in the US. And I had a different upbringing. I'm a little bit spicy. I'm a little bit ghetto. I'm a little bit from the street. And I'm from a big major city like San Francisco. And a lot of us locals don't really see San Francisco kind of like New York or anything. It's definitely not like New York, but I mean, we do have an airport, and I do see it as a big major city. And like, I never had a problem with the white people there growing up. I thought they were very cool. Like, they're very hippie and like they're nice to us, like little brown kids and stuff. So I never had a problem with them. But everyone just gets along in the city for the most part. But yeah. And then I decided I didn't want to stay in America after that point. So I kind of switched gears. Like, that's when Survivor also started. So strategy was like a huge deal to me, and I like video games and stuff. So like my strategy kind of changed, and I kind of started looking. I just kind of made a plan because like my whole thing was I'm a huge RPG gamer. So like basically, I'll just say it right now, like my life revolves around video games and stuff. So it's like the one thing that I like love doing. And then so I knew there'll come a point where I won't be able to put in like 85 hours into a game when I'm like an adult and like working and have a full-time job and have kids and a family and stuff. I know it's just not going to be there. So I started thinking at other options where my time schedule will be more open, and like what's something I can do, or where is somewhere I can go where I can just be my own employer and just do my own thing, and I'll still have time to game if I want to. And then I just knew if I stayed in the US, the route that I'll take is probably like I would probably just copy my mom and just kind of do business and like accounting and stuff. I'm horrible at math, but I saw my mom was successful in the US, so I just kind of wanted to emulate her and just do her thing. And I thought it was pretty easy. If she can do it, I can do it. And I would have to do the 9 to 5 thing and stuff, but like I just knew that I wouldn't be able to game as much as I wanted to, because like I just knew. I just knew my life in the US at that point wasn't gonna turn out the way I wanted it to. I could just tell. Alright. So I could count on one hand how many times like a white kid like talked to me. And like I only remember like 3 times when they like actually said something to me, you know, and actually noticed I was in the room. And I got asked the most weirdest question about my race. And it was this one kid, I'll just say his name was like Alex or something. He was like, so I'm standing there against the wall or facing the wall, like leaning on a desk talking to my friend, and then he goes up to me and he's all like, what's your ethnic background? And then I was like, what? Why don't you just ask me like what's my race, or like what are you, or like whatever. And I remember, I forgot what I said, but I was basically just like, what? Or like, what do you mean by that? But I forgot what I even said or what I even answered. I was just like, what? I thought that is the weirdest way to ever ask like a minority kid like what their race is. You know, why can't you just be like blunt and just ask like a normal person? And I had no contact with any of my friends. We had AOL or something at the house, and I never turned on AIM. I don't know why. I only went online once to talk to them, and I was like, hey, sorry I'm so busy, but I'm just doing school. So I never talked to any of my friends, and I never told them what I was going through just because, like, I don't know, I was so embarrassed or something. And then the last thing I wrote was, it was too white. That's just how I felt. And then I wrote some other stuff here too. I just thought there was a lack of diversity. I felt the minority kids definitely felt out of place. And I think the school was like 95% white or something. And the faculty was pretty much all white, and Las Vegas felt pretty all white. Like, I know people's like, why don't you just ignore that aspect of humanity? And I'm like, it's hard not to notice, especially when you're a kid and you're like feeling weird and stuff. Like, I'm sure now people are like, I mean, people can do what they want, so I don't really care. And I started to feel like I was put in this box as a non-white, so I was like different from the norm. So that was like weird, and I thought like being Asian or Filipino was the reason why no one talked to me. I didn't have any friends, and like I started to think of it as like a negative, which was like weird. And I thought the white kids were not very friendly. Like, I'll just keep on talking about that. Like, they were never approachable. Like, I'll say, like, they never approached me, and I never approached them. But maybe the reason why I never talked to them either was because, like, they were so unapproachable, you know? Like, I was like, all the time. And then I wrote, I think I was being ignored, and it felt weird. I felt all by myself the whole day. I never got talked to for the most part. Again, I ate alone at the lunch table every day. And I started to feel like that was normal, and that was high school. And then, like, I was like one of the freaks and geeks and like outcasts, and like that was like my thing or whatever. And the whole I want to go home thing, didn't learn anything, even though I got straight A's. And then looking back, the only reason I can come up with why the white kids treated me that way was because they learned that from their parents. I mean, I don't know what else to say. And then we never went to church at a Catholic school. Weird. No one ever talked to me about religion. Jesus. Weird. Looking back, I think this experience didn't help my depression. I wrote traumatizing, all caps, underline. And it was just too white and unfriendly. So, yeah. I just kind of wanted to get off get that off my chest, just because like I just kind of felt like the whole experience was so weird, and like now it doesn't really affect me, just because like, to be honest, I don't think about it that much because it's been like what, 20 years now, but I do remember it, and I do feel like it contributed to the reason why I left America in the first place, you know. And people are like, "Oh, so your parents decided to come home, and then like what happened with you though?" And then, I'll just say like everyone has a mind of their own, like I felt like even though my parents like kind of invited me or like egged me on to come home, like, you know, I made the decision for myself, and like, I calculated everything and stuff, and like, yeah. And so I know that seemed a little bit negative, but I promise there are some pros to the whole thing. So, which we'll get to in like the next video, like maybe a part two, practice unedited. But that was like the one of the two major reasons why I left in the first place, is because like I did not like the people in America. I just didn't, you know? And then I don't want to place or put all the blame on just whites, but that goes for everyone. I don't like anyone's like attitude, or like they're just very uncool and like awkward, and like they know too much about you, and like what else, kind of like me, I grew up in SF, so I'm like super duper stony baloney, but like I just think they're such buzzkills to be around like all the time. They suck the energy out of you, and they're just like they just take your high away, and it's just like, why are there so many uncool people like here in America, And like I just kind of feel like, maybe I am a different person, a different breed, like I do like video games, but like I know video games isn't the only reason why I'm the way I am, but I can pick up on like social stuff too, and like I just kind of thought, why does this person bother me so much, or like why do these people